Hey gang, Larry Bailey here with some more Encompass updates. I feel like it's been a very long time since I've been able to do any of these. The last one I did was obviously the big 23.3 release. That was back last year, December. But it's January 15th now as I'm recording this, and there's two updates that might have snuck in under your nose. And I want to make sure we kind of went through them. The first one we're going to talk about here is the Encompass Compliance Service. Now, if you're using Compass, you're running Maven. And so if you go into the release notes again, a lot of people just kind of hang out here at the top. Make sure you scroll down to the bottom. And so when you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see these notes. It gets kind of tricky because this isn't necessarily when the release happened. It's when the release notes were last revised on. And if anybody at ICE is still watching this, I would really love to see when you're going to go ahead and update how you do this. The Encompass release date, just put that one column down there. It'd be so much more helpful for all of us users and partners to make sure everybody is updated accordingly. So I was just kind of trolling down here and saw Encompass Compliance Service, went into Encompass Compliance Service and saw, sure enough, we had an update. And so this update was for January 2024, and this is kind of important for you if you're in these states. So if you scroll down here, you'll see some stuff. First of all, let me make this a little bigger to be fair to the screens here. And first thing we want to do is update to the applicability rules. So if you go into Encompass and you go into Compliance Review Setup, which is in here, right? You'll see the very first tab talks about reviews to include. It's on the upper right-hand side. And I've talked about this. I go over a lot of this in training. If you ever want to go through every single setting, we just finished up the most recent update, which was version 23. We started in October. We just finished here in January. We're going through our reviews to take the mastery of Encompass as an admin final exam, and hopefully we'll get some certifications out there for folks. But basically, we go through all of the settings. This is one of the settings I talk about because these little edit icons are not old. They've never always been there. And ICE has been adding some more stuff, and sure enough, we just added another one. So if you go into the GSE review, you now have the ability to address mapping. So in that review, the rule headers that you can either enable or disable, right? So you either add that, you click that box, and you're basically going to be able to choose if you want the review or not. Now, if you do want to update that, you're going to have, well, wait a minute, let's just go into one. Cut this out. All right, so when you go into the setting itself, go ahead and click Change Setup. So when you go into the setting itself, go ahead and click Change Setup, and it's this very first one over here. So here's that GSE review that I'm talking about in the release notes. And you basically are saying, do you want to run the GSE review or not? And if you do, for which channel? You can also, again, a lot of people don't even go in here because they just haven't. But you can make sure that the review runs for specific channels and then only runs the review when certain milestones are reached. So if you're the kind of company that really wants to get into the granularity of when this is running, you can do that with this edit icon right here. So going back to the release notes, when we look at here, it's basically enable or disable, and then you can choose a setting. Some of the other things that are impacted by this release have to do with the rule headers. So you've got a couple of things that are being updated in terms of the rule headers and what they're all about. You can read these here. And if we go further, we're now on page 8. At the federal level for these updates, you've also got the update to the CFPB publishing of the rural and underserved areas. So I don't know if you know this or not, but there's an alert within Maven that addresses the rural and underserved counties. And this addresses that. So there's a link on here if you want to go check out some more. But if you're the kind of institution that really is looking to develop lending into a rural or underserved county, Maven is now being updated to address that. There's some state rule updates. If you are originating in Kentucky, ECS has been updated to provide accurate license requirement messages when the rate exceeds 8% for users who submit a loan. They removed the 8% rate limit argument. I don't know what that means personally. I've never lent in Kentucky, but if you lend in Kentucky, I'm sure this is impactful for you. So there's an update. New Jersey. Now this is impactful for me. I'm in New Jersey, and photocopy fee. This thing here, I have to laugh because photocopy fee is in 2024. It's an interesting kind of fee. Typically, who charges it are attorneys, title companies. The mortgage companies truthfully used to charge this back in the day. Remember, I started lending in 1993 when we still had thermal fax machines. And borrowers wouldn't give you their social security number unless you went to their house because they don't know who you are over the phone. I'm sure everybody listening to this probably thinks I'm making that up, but that is all a true statement. In any event, so you will no longer get a fail if you have photocopy fee, and it's mapped to office expense. So this gets into going back into the setup, right? So if we go back into our settings, and we go back over into tables and fees, we go to itemization fee management, and if we go over into creating a new fee, actually we won't create a new fee, we'll just go here because this one's not mapped. And if we go over into office expense, you'll have to maybe select all of these to get these to come in here, but here's the office expenses. So watch what happens, in case you've never noticed this before, but watch what happens when I uncheck 1300. You'll see this list changes. So, it's still there. 1200s, office expense is still there. 1100s, office expense is still there. 1000s, still there. 900. So basically, every section you can have office expenses. If you have any section selected. So that's good. I was just a test. I've never done that before, so thanks for bearing with me on that one. To continue on, in Ohio, you've got some prepayment penalty threshold updates because the law has been updated, so there you go. In Washington, you've got updated messaging to include interest days in year when calculating interest accrual method. So in this release, CCS has been updated to include some additional of these details. So if you've ever lent in Washington and you've had some issues with the interest days in year used, Maven has been updated to address that. And then at the end of all the release notes, typically, again, you have this change log, and change date was January 11th, 2024. So that's it for for that release note. And if you want to go ahead and keep listening, the next one we're going to talk about, we're going to get into is the next update. This has all been about the Encompass Compliance Service 2024 rules release notes for the update that came out on or about the January 11th. Where are we here? There you are. Encompass Compliance Service, January 11th, 2024. See you on the next one. Thanks.